Hi, everyone, and welcome to Write Something Weird, your favorite literary show where we talk about creating cool art and building bookish communities. I'm Sophie Stern, a paranormal romance author in Kansas City, and I'm here tonight with my wonderful guest, Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Sophie. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Lucy, we met a couple of years ago through
Mhm.
your bookstore.
Yes, God, has it been that long so far? The time flies, I'll be honest. I feel like 2 months ago was the pandemic at this point.
Yeah. I feel the same way. So, how long have you been running your bookstore now?
So, is a bit of a complicated answer. Our
Okay.
current iteration of the bookstore has been in operation for about 2 years now.
Okay.
But before that, I had it as a pop-up, and then before that, I had it as a part of a larger community organization that I ran. I got into bookselling. I kind of backed into it, where I started off with this grand plan and then kept narrowing it down to what I actually cared about, which is the books of it all.
That's amazing. And I love that you like kind of started big and then narrowed down. And then it sounds like you're getting big again as far as
Yeah.
everything you're doing in Kansas City.
Yeah, I can't stay still. It's a blessing and a curse. So once I feel like I've figured out one thing, I've already spent the last couple of months moving on to the next thing
Yeah.
and going from idea to idea. I do try to keep it in the book space so that I can at least have some sort of focus, but I
Yeah.
why stay still?
I totally agree and I love that. So I do want to know what inspired you to start a journey with books. Because you're doing a lot. You have
Yeah.
like you mentioned the book festival,
hmm
the bookstore, and then president of
The Kansas City Booksellers Association, which
okay,
is
which is
a
quite a
nonprofit.
title.
Yes.
Amazing.
So to answer your original question,
Yeah.
I've always had a love of books. It's something that's been instilled in me since I was a very, very small person. My parents were big on read a book, don't watch TV type of
Yeah.
attitude. Go play outside or read a book were really my two options after school. I'm not very good at running, so books were the obvious place
Lucy.
to go. So I've always loved books. I think a lot of us, in college and in high school, we have this ideal, like, I'm gonna have this little shop and I'm gonna live in the apartment above it. It's gonna be on the corner of some cute little community area. And once I got into the workforce after college,
Yeah.
that doesn't exist. That little community area doesn't exist. So the little corner shop with an apartment above it doesn't exist. And on top of that, I, as an adult moving into the world after college, it's really hard to find people. It's hard to
Yeah.
make friends. It's hard to build a community at all. And I'm
Mhm.
not particularly religious and I don't drink. So that's pretty much the only two other options that I
Yeah.
had. So unless I wanted to be very good friends with my family or really close to my coworkers, I didn't have many options.
Yeah.
So I kind of gravitated back to that community that I had when I was growing up, where I love this book. This person next to me might also love this book, and the only way I'm going to know that is if I strike up a conversation about it.
Yeah.
So I'm incapable of doing something half-assed. So, of course,
Yeah.
instead of just joining an existing book club or going to an existing business, I started my own. And that's where, again, we started very, very broad. We had game nights, we had book clubs, we had parties, we had anything that could get people in the door to meet other people. And that was too much. But
Yeah.
the thing that I always was energized to do, even on days where, I'm working a full-time job, I'm trying to do these 20 things to get people in the door, but book clubs tonight. So I
Yeah.
get to have my book time. And so it was a natural kind of falling into it from there.
I love that. And I love the way you talk about books. You and I
Mhm.
have talked about books before, and do you know your eyes light up like when you're talking about they really do. So, what were your go-to books when you were a kid? Because I was like American Girl, Dear
Really?
America,
Okay.
Boxcar Children. But what about you?
So I mean, I was obviously a very big Harry Potter kid. I was a
Mm.
big Warrior Cats kid.
Okay.
But those were both books that my parents chose because they thought it would be something that we would like.
Uh-huh.
And so when I started being able to choose books for myself, I'm gonna say like middle school time probably,
Yeah,
I got deep into Animorphs. I think everyone should read
oh
Animorphs,
yeah,
even if you're an adult. I
for
loved the
sure.
books. I was also, I mean, anything with a dragon on it caught my attention almost immediately. I think
Yeah.
I read my original copy of Aragon so many times I ripped it in half.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I still have it, but it does not work anymore as a book.
Yeah,
It's a nice little statement piece.
fair.
But I loved adventure books. I loved the opportunity for people to like go out and do things. I wasn't really
Hmm.
interested in staying in and do things types of books. My
Hmm.
sisters loved Nancy Drew and things like that. I just wasn't
Yeah.
as interested in that kind of small seeming world.
Okay.
I read The Hobbit in middle school. I would not recommend that to a middle schooler, but I
It's a
tried.
lot. Yeah.
It was a lot to read. But I was always, big, expansive worlds, really cool characters type of books. I naturally gravitated to sci-fi and fantasy from there, but I didn't noticeably tie myself
Yeah.
down to any one genre as much as it was, something I could escape into.
Yeah. I love that. Has your interest in books like or what you're reading changed since you started doing events and then, opening the Gilded Page? Like what does that look
Yeah.
like?
I I think it's expanded. I think
Okay.
that opening the bookstore and doing the book fest have they've shown me so many more genres and book ideas than I could have imagined in my own.
Mm,
I've always kind of avoided the romance genre just
okay.
because I grew up on the internet at a time when LiveJournal was huge, so I felt like I had read enough.
Fair.
But even in that genre, what I find on the internet when I'm 15 is going to be very different from what human adults are writing in
Mm,
their spare time. And I'm an adult too, so it's
yeah.
much more relatable now than it was
Yeah.
when I was 15. I think that memoirs are a lot more interesting to me now than they were when I was a kid for obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
also just I've kept that love of no one genre is gonna be the only one I read, and
Love
that's
that.
really managed. Like I'm never gonna have a book fest that's only fantasy. I
Okay.
don't think I don't think that that's a gap for sure. I mean, there's
Mhm.
definitely already events like that, but
Yeah.
also one of my favorite things about people coming to the book fest or coming into the Gilded Page is someone who comes in saying, I only read romantasy. I've read every Fourth Wing, I've read every ACOTAR. What's next on
Yeah.
my list? And they walk out
Oh,
with either a historical fiction or a
yeah.
dark, gritty horror. Or I got one girl to get, she got like the entire Murderbot series just
Okay.
because like the things that she loves in those romantasy books are also in other genres, but you wouldn't know if you're only going to the fantasy events or the
Yeah.
fantasy bookstores.
I love that. That's amazing. And as an attending author, I loved that about Boozy Book Fest. Like, I
Mhm.
absolutely loved seeing all of the different displays, all of the different authors, and even
Yeah.
even the authors being like, here's my spread, right? Because a lot of
Yeah.
authors write lots of different things.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
I think you do a really good job of that. And it's nice to be able to like have all of those different readers who might think they're looking for one thing, but then be introduced to something else.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad that it's being conveyed to the audience and to the vendors.
Yeah.
That's the things that I'm passionate about, I obviously care about, but there's always
Yeah.
a line that I'm a little nervous to cross where
Hmm.
just because I care about it doesn't mean everyone has to. And I
Uh-huh.
don't want to be shoving my idea of a good time onto other people, even though it's
That's
my
fair.
event and I'm the one
It is your
choosing
event.
the vendors. And
Well,
it's gotten to the point, if I'm being honest, like I'm not the only one choosing vendors anymore for the Boozy
yeah,
Book Fest. I'm overseeing it, but I've got committees for that because it's huge and
it's
I
huge.
physically can't do that. So
Yeah.
being able to express that to the people who are working on the committees, so
Yeah.
then they know, TJ Klune's going to be there this year, and that's wonderful and that's cool, but he
Yeah.
doesn't do everything. So what genres will we have in addition to what he already provides?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I loved your answer because you kind of gave a little bit of insight into just some of the work that goes into the fest. Um, but you've grown a lot. Your events have grown a lot. Your store has grown. What's been the most exciting thing about all of this growth?
Honestly, it's the other people. Other people who know that I exist or that we're doing things here is
Yeah.
the most gratifying piece of it for sure, but also it is the most impactful for me. If someone
Sure.
comes into my bookstore and they say, "Hey, my friend doesn't live here, but they came through town and they came to your store and they told me I had to come check it out too when I was in Kansas City." Or I, the last book fest I checked, we had attendees from almost all 50 states,
Hmm.
which is
That's
incredible and
crazy.
wonderful. But I don't know how they found out about it. I'm certainly not marketing to all 50 states.
That's
So
crazy.
the word of mouth and the community, for lack of a better term, it's
Hmm.
the proof of the pudding of this thing is important to me, and I created this because I think it's important for adults to meet other adults
Yeah,
with similar interests,
for sure.
and it's working.
Yeah. I love that. And I think when you put on a really strong event, like you said, like marketing's important, but so is word of mouth. I mean, that's how I heard about your fest for the first time. I was at another event and the
Yep.
authors were talking and someone had just gone and they were like, "Oh my goodness, Lucy put on this event." And I was like, "I know Lucy." What do you mean? And so I think that's really cool that authors are talking and having a good time, and readers are talking and having a good time. And this year is going to be even bigger.
Yes, this is going to be the biggest one we've ever had in terms of square footage, number of vendors, and number of people that we're planning on have come through the door.
Yeah,
It's terrifying. It's wonderful, but I've never had to downsize this event, which
yeah,
if you're familiar with the event space, I know there's a lot of book events out there. There is a point for all of us where
yeah,
we get too big and we have to
yeah,
dial it back a little bit. And I keep thinking, definitely this year. Definitely this year
yeah,
is going to be the peak. Next year, there's no way I can top it. We've done other things. I used to do it three
yeah.
times a year. Now I do it once a year because I am
Mm.
tired. But
Lucy.
I am but one
Don't blame you
person.
at all. That I love how honest you are. I would be so tired.
It's a lot of work and it's
Yeah,
wonderful and it's gratifying, but I also want to make sure there's space for all the other book
yeah,
events around this country and even in this city. Kansas City is a wonderful place for books, for
yeah.
authors, readers, and booksellers. And I
Hmm.
would hate to be so greedy with that time that I need to have all of it. I'm happy to
That's
have one
fair.
event and have two other people pop up in the place.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I love that. And I think that you're right. Like Kansas City is booming with books and readers and authors. I
Hmm.
moved to Olathe in 2021, and I don't remember there being a lot of access to like book events.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's so many readers and there are so many authors and so many people who are passionate about books.
Absolutely. And it's only growing. It has
It
not
is.
reached its capacity by any means, which is so
No.
wonderful to see.
So at your bookstore, you have a lot of like smaller events, like book clubs and I think a smut club and a
Yeah.
couple of other things. Do you have a favorite event that you host?
I do. My favorite book event that I host is it's a bit of a hodgepodge of ideas that's really just come together. And it might get passed up this month, but
Okay.
every let's say every quarter we
Okay.
have every Tuesday an hour of the day we play an hour of an audiobook and people
Oh,
can come to the shop, they can craft, they can write, they can read along, they can just kind of sit there quietly and
wow.
I call it my book club with no homework
Oh, I love
because
that.
a lot of us have a lot of work to do and you may
True.
love a book club, you may love the community, but I'm not going to read that book and then you feel guilty going to book club without having
Yeah.
read it ever. So this is a nice, easy way to enjoy a book together, but not
Yeah.
feel the pressure of reading it on your own. I love the concept. I love how people have responded to it. I've had people come with full coloring books to just draw while the book is going
Yeah.
on. I've had some people do complete embroidery pieces from the start of to the end of the book.
Wow.
It's I've actually also had quite a few visually impaired people come to the event
Mm.
because they can't read books and it's hard to have an audiobook based book club and then just kind of sit there without being a part of things so they can still
Yeah.
feel a part of everything, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. It's also, I will say, we're reading Redwall right now and I love Redwall, so it's
Yeah.
definitely That's part of why I love this book club right now. But that I
Awesome.
would say long term has been my favorite that we've done so far.
That's really cool. Super random. So my family speaks Chinese and my son just got me a copy of Redwall in Chinese
Oh,
and
that's
I haven't read
awesome.
it yet, but I should have brought it to the Zoom, but he just got it for me. That's really funny.
That's incredible. You'll have to
Yeah,
show
but
me sometimes. That sounds
I
really cool.
I will show it to you. That's a promise.
Perfect.
But I love how accessible that is. I do a lot of book events and I've had so many people come to my table and be like, I don't read anymore. I only can listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
So I think that's so cool that you have managed to find a way to be like, hey, you are welcome here. You don't have
Yeah.
to fit into like having time to read a book, especially. So I think that's
Yeah.
really valuable.
Well, thank you. It's also, I just selfishly, I love having an hour to sit and listen to a book with friends.
Yeah, well, that's nice too because I haven't been to this event, but I imagine people like you can see like the expressions on their face
Mhm.
and you're kind of all
Mhm.
enjoying it together.
Yeah. There's definitely times where, someone in the audiobook will say something and the rest of us will be like, oh yeah, okay, and just kind of have a moment reacting to the
Mhm.
book like you're watching a TV show together, but you don't have to.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then it becomes a shared experience that you
Mhm.
can kind of like build on and you're building that community while enjoying a great story and
Yeah.
especially if it's one you've enjoyed before, like being able to like share that with other people must be pretty special.
It is a really wonderful experience, and it's a it really changes the way that you receive the books, I will say. A
Oh,
lot of the
okay.
books, I mean, they're not necessarily in the past book clubs we've done, they're not the books that I would necessarily pick up, but I know that they're
Okay.
going to be low key and fun enough that it
Yeah.
worked for this type of event. And you pick up on things when
Hmm.
you're listening to an audiobook, but you're not running around the house or doing the laundry or cleaning the
Yeah.
car or whatever it is that you normally do because you have your full attention on it still.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So, has anything about the story surprised you since you've been listening to it with other people?
There's definitely been some comments that I don't remember from when I read it as a child. Just maybe
Okay.
more adult comments that completely went over my head. There's also a lot more death in the book than
Oh,
I remember.
okay.
I don't know how recently you've read Redwall. I'm not going to spoil the
It's
book,
been a
but
while.
it is a book about war. It
Okay.
is a book about rats and mice killing each other, and it
Yeah.
is not subtle about that.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me because I feel like it's sort of like a book a lot of people read when we were kids. I think it's so interesting to reread children's books as an adult or even like young adult and be like, these people were dying all the time and all this bad stuff was happening. And I feel like when you're reading it as a kid, you're like, it's totally fine. Like, we're just learning, we're just adapting and enjoying the experience. I'm like that with Chronicles of Narnia. I'm like, there's a lot of action in this book.
Yeah, the Chronicles of Narnia was definitely another one where, like, in the first couple chapters, they give every child a weapon. And
Yes.
as a kid, I'm like, that sounds awesome. As an adult,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. So, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is I was poking around on your Instagram and I saw that you have a shop cat who is retired.
yes, semi-retired. He comes to the
Okay.
shop once a month now.
Okay.
We love him to bits. His name is Hondo. He is a fat gray cat. He's getting up there in years, but we got him as a shop cat originally. He was a
Okay.
wonderful, wonderful shop cat. He loves sitting in a sunbeam. He loves just sitting on someone's lap while they're reading.
Okay.
Perfect shop cat. But every time when we would open the store, he would come running from wherever he was and just demanding affection immediately. And he didn't love it
Oh,
when people left. So
okay.
when we moved locations from our more pop-up style, more low-key genre-based, general-based shop to this more specific Gilded Page, we brought him home for the move, and he is such a house cat. He
Okay.
will not leave you alone. If I had a backpack, he'd be on me right now.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to put him back in a shop where he's going to be alone
Mm.
for half the day.
Yeah. That's totally fair. I loved the pictures. It looks like he has had a good life and is a really loved, really cool reader cat. So that's
Oh,
that's really fantastic.
He is a wonderful cat. And we do still bring him back to the shop once a
Yeah.
month. And then on special occasions like Independent Bookstore Day,
Oh,
he'll probably
cool.
be back. We'll bring him back from Banned Books Week, things like that.
Yeah.
But I can't leave him there anymore. It breaks my little
Totally
heart.
fair. I wouldn't want to be left alone in a shop all the time either. So that's totally fair.
A lot of free books in a bookstore, you
A
sure?
lot of free books in a bookstore. I'm not sure, actually. I'm second guessing myself. So, we have talked about a lot of different things, and you're doing so many cool, wonderful things in Kansas City and just really are at the heart of so many wonderful bookish things. For
Well, thank
readers
you.
who are coming to Kansas City or who are here and they want to get involved, what should they do first?
That is a really good question. And I think my dog wants to weigh in too, so I'm sorry if she's getting picked up by my
That's
microphone a
okay.
little bit. Something that they should do first, I would
Yeah.
say a lot of shops have put together a bookstore crawl of Kansas City. It's
Okay.
something that a lot of shops have done themselves. I know the Bookstore Association has one as well.
Yeah.
There's one for specific genres, there's one for all the bookstores in general. I would grab that and use that as a starting map. So if you're staying in Olathe, if you're staying in the Northland, if you're staying downtown, that'll at least give you a starting point of what bookstores are around me, which
Yeah.
will obviously get you in the door of so many cool places. And they're all doing amazing events too. I know I'm doing some really cool stuff. Please come to my store if you're in my area. But I mean, even you and I, you're in Olathe and I'm in the Northland. There's only
Yeah.
so much traveling we're willing to do as Kansas Cityans. So
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
someone's in town for a casual weekend that doesn't have any specifically large big events, I would say grab one of those crawl maps, find the bookstores near you, and check them out for sure.
I love that. What a wonderful answer. And you're right, those maps are so fun. And there are so many different unique stores in the area. And if you're willing to kind of explore a little bit, you
Yeah,
can really find so many just little gems. And it's really wonderful. I feel like each store has its own little vibe.
absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think that there's a single bookstore in this city that I would tell people to avoid, which is a really unique and special thing for
It
our city
really
to have.
is. Yeah, I love that. Well, Lucy, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I can't wait to see you again. I think we're going to have a great time at the fest this fall.
I can't wait till let's go. Saved all my blubbering for the end. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again.
It's going to be really awesome. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.